Hi, my name is Olivia, and this is my 11-week pregnancy update. So if you don't know me already, I am a mom of a 14-month-old baby boy, almost 15 months, and I am currently pregnant, of course, 11 weeks with my second child. And so today I want to share just kind of an update from the week. I have a lot of interesting things that have been bouncing around in my mind that I would love to share. And then also I want to share how to find a midwife and any red flags that go along with that. So today I just want to share those things because that is currently what's been going on in my life with this pregnancy. So first I just want to share my body has changed. It's changing, of course, my belly is growing, but not only that, but I've noticed that like my butt and thighs are growing, and it's one of those things where it's like kind of upsetting because I like to work out a lot, but the fatigue of this first trimester has just made working out like not the same as normal. I'm still getting my steps in. I'm still trying to do things. It's just a lot lower intensity level and not as long of a workout as I normally get in. And so instead of, I go to Orange Theory, which is like a workout class if you're not familiar. And normally I run and do everything as hard as I can, but I'm just not there physically right now. And so I'm like walking and doing things at my own pace and taking breaks. And so it's just so unlike me. Plus, I'm not eating the exact same. And so it's just different. So my body's changing. It's okay. But it's a lot because not only is your stomach changing, but other things can change. And it's not necessarily ideal because I want to stay in super good shape and that is my goal. But I'm not going to push my body where I can't. I have to listen to my body. And so hopefully it'll even out and it'll all be good. So another thing that is kind of interesting with the food that I'm eating. So I don't know if you've seen it, I'll link the video, but I recently started eating meat again. I was a vegetarian for about 11 years and I started eating meat for my health, for my family. It's just a lot easier to get protein in, and I started feeling better. And then of course, and it was also in preparation for having a child, because I know that during your first trimester, you use your energy stores that are already in your body to create that baby's life. And so if you're just, surviving on like saltines, it's okay. Your body is still going to make the nutrients and everything that the baby needs. And so I was gearing up for that. So I was eating a lot of protein. I was trying to eat grass-fed, organic type of meat and things like that, really listening to my body, focusing on my health. And I did that for this baby. And then of course I get pregnant and I'm like, meat is gross. The smell is gross. Like, I don't know why. I'm trying to get it here and there. For some reason, there's like a couple things that don't gross me out. So like I can eat a burger, but if you put like chicken on my salad, really grossed out. Actually, chicken in general is really grossing me out. It's so weird. And I really hope that next trimester this changes and I can eat meat again. I've already gone through a whole nother pregnancy completely vegetarian. And so if I have to do that again, it's okay. I know how to get my protein. It's just so much harder. And it's so much harder to like make meals, especially when the smell of meat is not my friend right now. But it's all good. I just think it's funny that I tried to do this to help my nutrition, help myself, and then my body's like, no. Another thing I want to mention is I've already talked about this in previous pregnancy week videos, but I am really not looking at apps. I am just like steering clear. I don't really feel the need to like see if my baby is as big as like a blueberry or an acorn, a pickle, cucumber, whatever. Like, I don't care. I just feel like very different about that. Last pregnancy, I was all about looking at the app every week and doing all the things. But this time I'm not. And also I feel like there's a lot of negativity on those apps. And so I just don't really care to look at them. But my husband and I, we wanted to start, well, mainly me. I wanted to start a like list of names because we are not going to find out the gender. And so I want a list of like girl and boy names that we can start thinking about. And a lot of my baby names are saved on an app. And so one of those baby apps. So I had to get on, and I just want to share because as soon as I get on, the first thing it says is why you're feeling weak during pregnancy and what to do about it. I just feel like when you read these things, I know that it's like not intentionally bad, but it's just so negative. Like, this should be such a joyous time. I know like there's morning sickness and things that happen to people in the first trimester. You're tired, whatever. I've already said I have fatigue, but I'm also very happy and joyous, and I don't need an app telling me there was more negativity if I scroll down. I'm not going to read it all, but it's just like what to do if your mood is changing, you're having mood swings and blah, blah. It's just like putting these negative things in your head, like, oh, you're weak, you're sick, you're tired, like you're getting chunky, like whatever. It's all these things, and I just don't want those in my mind. I don't. I feel like it's just negativity, and maybe it's helpful for people, but I don't agree. I don't think it is. Another really interesting thing that I came across this week, which I thought was really cool, is kind of a mindset shift, which I've already kind of been in the process of this, but I just think that this kind of gave me some language for what was already in my head, and so I'd love to share. So if you haven't heard it already, there's a podcast and Instagram and a course and probably other things from a lady, and it's called Pain-Free Birth. So I'll link it below in the description because I think it's a really cool resource that you can check out. But basically, she had someone on her podcast, and I just like saw a little snippet on Instagram. And basically what she was saying is, one of the things that a lot of times people trying to do an unmedicated birth talk about is that, you know, women can do this because, of course, women are made to do this, but it's because women are strong. Women are super strong. They're powerful. They can get through anything. Like, they can get through this tough birth that they're going to go through. And the mindset shift there is, instead of thinking like, I have to be strong, I have to go through this painful experience and I can do it, but it's going to be hard and I'm just going to like buckle down and get through it, whatever. Another way to look at it is, I don't have to be strong. I can have a birth that's just peaceful and calm and easy and pain-free. Like, those are things that I think we should be thinking about, rather than I need to be so strong, I need to take all this pain on and blah, 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 blah. That is kind of the mindset I had going into my first birth. I was going into it like, I'm about to go into battle, this is going to be really hard, whatever. And it was. It really was, truly. And I just think you can make the situation happen the way that you think about it in your mind. Like, your mind is super powerful. And so I like manifested that, I feel like, for my birth. And that is exactly what I got. So this time around, I've really changed my thinking. And instead of thinking like, oh, I'm going to go into this battle and it's going to be really hard, I'm thinking, no, I don't have to be strong. Jesus is strong, God's strong. He made me to do this, and I can lean on him, and this can be peaceful and calm and just perfect, and he's got it. I don't have to have it. And so it really wasn't until I made that like shift in my mind that the fear of giving birth subsided. So a lot of times people say, you know, listen to birth stories, watch birth stories, whatever. And that's how you get rid of your fear, because you see all these other women who are doing this and you can do it too. And look how strong and powerful everyone is, which it's true. It's really cool. And women are strong. But whenever I did that, I still had fear. I still was like, what if I can't do it? What if I'm not as strong as these people? Blah, blah, blah. And it really wasn't until I said, it's not about me. It's about God, and he created me to do this. He put this desire in my heart, and this is the way that I believe is safest for my baby. And so I believe that God can do this with me. Like, when I brought him into the mix, my fear went away. And this is after like so like thousands, I'm not even kidding you, listening to thousands and thousands of birth stories, listening to thousands and thousands of like podcasts on birth, educating myself, reading tons of books. I'm serious, like the amount of research that I have gone into and like deep dive into all these things, it's all been super helpful, but it literally did not take away the deep-seated fear that the world has put into my mind about this. And so I just want to share that because I think it's just a really cool, different way to look at it that a lot of people don't see birth that way. And I think that it would be so much more helpful going into your birth thinking like, I can do this because God's with me. I can do this because it's going to be easy. It's going to be joyful. And instead of, I'm going to have to be strong and it's going to be hard. So that's just something I want to share. And I just really thought that just really resonated with me. So this week I finally reached out to some midwives. I started asking some questions. I've currently reached out to 3, talked to 2, and I'm definitely going to interview 1 more before I make my final decision, at least 1 more. So I haven't yet made an appointment or decided on anything, but I truly did not know where to start, how to find a midwife. So I just took some notes on all the things that I did to find a midwife, and I just want to share that with you guys. So the first and the best way that I think finding a midwife would be is word of mouth. So if you find like Facebook groups that are about home birth, that's a great place to start to ask people, or if you know anyone personally. So I have 2 friends who I know have had home births, so I asked both of them for recommendations, which was super helpful because also there's one thing talking to a midwife and hearing their perspective on themselves, but then listening to someone else talk about their experience with someone, I feel like that's totally different. Especially when you have like specific things that you're looking for in a midwife. Maybe someone is super hands-on and they're very proud of that. Great. Maybe that's something that you want. That's something that you can totally hear firsthand from someone. Or someone who's like very hands-off and someone who is like very trusting of you and your decisions, or, you know, maybe a midwife's telling you they give informed consent, but then maybe someone else who actually was in the experience with that midwife doesn't really feel like they got that, or maybe they feel like they got that to an extreme and they're amazing. Like, those are all little tidbits of information that are really important, I believe. And so listening to someone who actually had a firsthand experience with those people, I think that is just gold. And that is the best way to find a midwife, in my opinion. So the second way I went about finding a midwife is social media. So I literally went to Instagram and looked up like midwives near me, midwives in the DFW area. I live in Texas. And so just looking up anything like that. And the beautiful thing about finding someone on Instagram is a lot of times they post things that they believe in. So you can kind of like see kind of like where their beliefs lie and things like that. Plus, a lot of times they have like links to their website, which would have reviews, or you can look at them on Facebook, which has reviews. So I think just like going about it on social media is also a cool way to look them up, especially whenever they share a lot, because they kind of give you insight into how they are as a midwife. So another kind of like creepy way that I found midwives is I just like Googled Texas midwives near me, something like that. And I found the Texas Association of Midwives, which I'm sure other states have. And so whenever I went to the website, I will link that below. It actually shows like a map with all these different little pins and different midwives that you can contact. So it really just had their like name, email, and phone number, I believe. And so I just cold emailed these people, and you know, it's very easy to figure out who's part of a birth center because a lot of times they're like email will have their birth center name in it. And so that's a way to like look up who they are. I feel like it's kind of creepy to find people this way. I actually ended up like, there were personal emails on there I didn't realize, and so I emailed some people personally. which is fine. I found them and it's good. But just that was another way that I actually found some midwives and I was able to contact them. And so I hope that maybe that's a resource for other states. I have not looked into it though. The last way to go about finding a midwife is through Free Birth Society. So I've talked about this before, if you're unfamiliar, free birth is just unassisted birth. It's like where you have a birth, you can have someone there, like you can have a traditional midwife, but you're not having like a medical provider there. So that is something that I thought would be very nice to have. I am looking for someone who is a lot more hands off, and I truly trust birth. And so I think like having someone who's just holding space would be really beautiful to have. And a lot of times these people are kind of doing it under the radar. In Texas, a traditional midwife is illegal. So to protect them, they're a part of the Free Birth Society. Like you kind of have to be a part of their membership in order to get contact with them. It's to protect them because a lot of the time this is like under the table type of situation. So I did reach out to see about the membership. It is $450 currently. Don't know if that's going to change, but that is another option if you are looking for someone who is just going to hold space for you, who just wants to be there and you really trust birth and you want to do it by yourself, but maybe you still want someone there. That is also an option. So the last thing I want to touch on is just red flags. So I know I've only talked to 2 midwives, but I do have a very strong opinion on the type of person I'm looking for. And with all the research that I've done, I feel like it's really shaped me and molded me to want very specific things, which is actually very unlike myself. I am very go with the flow, non-confrontational. I'm like, you guys do whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do, and I'm just gonna like sit back. That is just my personality. I'm a middle child. I think that might have something to do with it. My older sister and my younger sister are both very loud, opinionated. They do all the talking and I'm usually just in the background. So it's just weird that with birth, I'm just so passionate about it and I have so many beliefs and things that are making this something that I have strong opinions in. So, okay, so now I want to talk about red flags. So one red flag for me is if any midwife says that they have a specific requirement. Now, that does not mean it's bad. A lot of the requirements would be something like, they require a 20-week ultrasound, which for some people might be totally fine. They might want that. A lot of people want sonograms before that as well. I just personally don't know if I would like a sonogram in this pregnancy. And so whenever they have requirements like that, that's something I'm kind of wary of because for me, midwife, the word midwife means with woman. So I believe that a midwife should be there to listen to the woman, be there for them, give them informed consent, and respect their decisions. And so I completely and totally respect people's decision to not take on a client who doesn't want to do their requirements, who doesn't want to do the ultrasound, because I understand that some people do not feel comfortable, supporting a woman who hasn't had a sonogram. I get it. And I respect it. And I very much appreciate them saying that up front. But I also believe that women should be able to make their own decisions. It's their baby and their body. And whenever you have a home birth, generally those type of people are very educated. They do a lot of research. They take a lot of time and energy into looking up all the different things that surround pregnancy and birth because it is important to them. And so I think that women should be able to make their own decisions. And if you are requiring certain things of me that I personally don't agree with and you can't, work with me on those things, then you're probably not going to be my midwife. Now, again, it is not bad if someone is requiring a 20-week ultrasound and you feel fine with that and you want to go with them. Like, that is totally your opinion, your call, and there's nothing wrong with like people having requirements in their practice, but that's just not the way that I want to go about my birth and pregnancy, because this is my birth and my pregnancy, and I believe that I am hiring someone to support me in whichever way I need supported. So if I just need someone to like sit back in my birth, to sit in the corner and just watch, then that is what I want. And if someone doesn't feel comfortable with that and they want to like be hands-on and they need to be like monitoring me every 10 minutes or whatever the case might be, then that's fine. And that's great for some people, but that's just not my midwife. And so that requirement piece is just something that is important to me, and it's a red flag. So another piece that I've learned recently is a lot of people require that 20-week ultrasound because they want to know where the placenta is, where the baby is, which I totally understand. Sometimes it's very rare, but sometimes your placenta can actually be like in front of the hole where the baby would come out. You don't want your placenta coming out before the baby, obviously. Things like that. Your placenta can be positioned in different spots. There can be different things going on with that. So I think that they just do that 20-week ultrasound precautionary to make sure everything's in the right spot, everything's in the right place, and you're good to go for a healthy home birth. So something I've learned is that at 20 weeks, your placenta is not in like a set in stone location. It can still move. And so sometimes your placenta is like a little bit too close for comfort, or it's not in the perfect spot. And so what they're going to do is require more sonograms down the line. So to minimize that, if you're interested, you can see if the midwife will, instead of doing that 20-week ultrasound, can do a 32-week ultrasound. So it's closer to your actual birth and your placenta is more in a set in stone location. So you're, instead of potentially doing the 20-week ultrasound plus more, because if your placenta doesn't look like it's in the right spot, you might have to have more. Instead, potentially, your midwife can let you do a 32-week ultrasound and you can go from there. I personally still believe that the midwife that I choose will allow me to make my own decisions, which I actually found someone who said it's cool if I do not decide to have an ultrasound at all. There are also things along your pregnancy, for example, the glucose test. So like if you go to an OB, generally they give you this like orange, disgusting drink with dye that nowhere on earth would I ever drink in my real life ever. And so they make you drink this drink and then they test your glucose levels, whatever. I personally think that's disgusting, and I did not realize there's other options. So another option is the fresh test. It is a cleaner version, but it's still covered in sugar. It's a drink. You do the same thing essentially, but it doesn't have all the dyes and gross stuff in it. So that's another option. Or you can do a glucose test I think it's for a week at home. I haven't looked into it that much because I'm not there yet, but that is what I would rather do, is just check my levels every day for a week instead of drinking this disgusting drink that I would never ever drink in real life. I would never in one sitting like drink something with that much sugar in it. And so I personally would like to do the other option of testing myself at home. And so that's another thing. Like if midwives or OBs don't allow you to do something different, that would be a red flag for me. Another red flag would be not knowing who my midwife is going to be. So a lot of times if you go with a practice that is very large or a large birth center, there might be a lot of different midwives in the practice. And so maybe there are 5 or 7 and you see 1 or 2 throughout your whole pregnancy, and then maybe they don't come to your birth. Maybe someone random comes. That's not something I want. I feel like birth is such a sacred time. You're in a vulnerable space, and I just personally want someone to come who already knows me, who I already know, who I feel comfortable with, who knows my preferences, who knows what I want, who understands the birth that I'm trying to go for, like understands all those things. Plus I know them and I know how they are, and I've asked them all these questions. Like I want someone who I am comfortable with, someone who's already been to my house, someone who knows where the coffee is, someone who has met my child before. Like, all those things are important to me. And so if there is like a big birth center type of situation, like group of midwives who you don't know who's going to be at your birth, that is something that is a red flag for me. And the last red flag would be just their tone. I know that that sounds like a little bit crazy, I guess, but if someone is very harsh and they say things like, for example, you know, if X, Y, and Z happens during your birth, you know, we're gonna have some words. We're gonna chat about that. Like, very like direct and like sassy. Okay, if they're talking like that during like an initial consultation, what are they gonna be like in like a crazy situation? I want someone who's level-headed, who's calm like I am, who's pretty chill, who in a crazy situation, they're just gonna be like, hey, it's okay. We're gonna do X, Y, and Z. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? What path do you want to take? Let's do it. You know, like, I want someone who's more calm, chill. I totally understand there are emergency situations, but I'm just saying, that's the kind of personality I'm looking for. I think that that's important. Someone you like jive with, someone you're going to spend a lot of time with this person. If you have a midwife, you're going to spend like an hour and a half at every appointment. That's one appointment a month, and then it turns to 2, and then it turns to every week. Like, that is a lot of time to spend with someone. And I want someone who I like, someone who is chill and I jive with. And so someone who's very harsh and like confrontational, that's not my style. And so that is a red flag for me. I know that's very specific. I already knew I was going to go into this looking for a very specific person, but I prayed about it before we ever even conceived. I have it written on my wall. We are going to find the perfect midwife. And so I'm going to find that person. And I know that I'm very particular. I have some very particular standards when it comes to this, but I think that it's important because it's my body, it's my family, and it's my child. So those are just some things that I wanted to share. I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Plus, I am going to be putting these videos out pretty soon, sharing that I'm pregnant, which I am super excited about. But also, I just want to share that, I just want to say that the whole reason why I created this YouTube channel in the first place is to help other women going through a similar situation that I am. Maybe someone who just started on this journey of like researching, maybe they're having their first baby, maybe you're having your 6th baby, but this is the one you want to do naturally. Or maybe you're just like in the same boat as me and want someone else to just like listen to, you know, a similar type of like style of mothering. I don't know. I just really want to help women, and if there's any way that I can do that throughout this pregnancy, if there's anything you're interested in, I am more than happy to do a deep dive on any of these topics. And so please let me know if there's anything that I can help with, because I love this kind of stuff and I want to help people. So please let me know in the comments below, or you can email me, go to my website, whatever is easiest for you. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next pregnancy week update.